watched a gameplay trailer and then realized as you're watching the gameplay that this game actually came out like literally a year ago, or it came out like 6 months ago, and you're like, how in the world did I just miss that game? Did I just miss this entire thing? Like, it was completely off your radar. You have no idea where this game came from. You're like, oh, I guess I just completely blew it and I just did not watch this or play this, and now I kind of feel like I'm obligated to play it because now I finally discovered it. Well, that's how I felt the moment I watched Pentiment. And Pentiment is a game that I never thought that I would be interested in watching. Never. And it just so happened that this game, like, it encapsulated me so much. It encapsulated me the way that Tears of the Kingdom kind of encapsulated me, where I was just like in awe. And at first it was very much the graphics, the way that it looked. It was something that I'd never really seen that much in video games, so I was kind of interested. And then I started doing a little bit more research, and I was like, okay, so and then I was going through Game Informer. They do weekly roundups of like what games are going to be coming out in the upcoming week. And I go through and I see this game called Pentiment, and I'm like, oh, let me check this game out. And I look for the review on it, and it's a year old. You know why? Because this game came out on PC a year ago, and I had no idea. This actually received a 10 out of 10 on IGN a year ago, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, how did I miss this game? Did I miss this? Was I asleep? And I mean, obviously I'm not a PC gamer. I wouldn't consider myself a PC gamer. I would say Chris is more of a PC gamer, but I am definitely not one of those people. But we're gonna go into this game because it's coming out tomorrow on Nintendo Switch, and I would like to play it. And I'm almost certain that a lot of us who own a Nintendo Switch may not be PC gamers. A lot of us may not be. Some of us are, but some of us are not. So I'm actually going to go in depth on what Pentiment is and whether or not you should be getting it for your Nintendo Switch, because honestly, this I feel like this game flew under the radar. And I feel like it would be a disservice to the development team if we didn't cover it at least once, just to at least, show people, it's like, hey, check out this game at least once, see if it's for you, and if it's not, go for it. If not, if not, no harm, no foul. You don't have to buy it, obviously. You don't have to buy any of the games that I talk about, but this is definitely something you should check out, especially if it got a 10 out of 10. Do your own research on it. So we're gonna actually watch a little bit of the trailer. I'm gonna actually play it so you can get a good glimpse of it, and you can tell me whether or not you like it or if you don't. Now, obviously, the game was obviously an Xbox showcase kind of game, and it showed up on Xbox first because Xbox, PC, obviously they're gonna do their whole thing. But the gist of the game, just to give you the rundown of what this game is, Pentiment is a detective thriller in the medieval times. So just by that in and of itself, I was kind of hooked. I actually really enjoy detective kind of games, finding clues. I was very much an Ace Attorney kind of person, so I like a lot of the detective things. But this is very different just because like has the art style is very compelling. It's a storybook art style. The handwriting, whenever you look at the screen, it has sometimes it shows like the way that they talk. You'll see it in like this script. It's very beautiful, honestly. It's very cool. It has like minimalist gameplay, focuses on gathering clues, engaging with townsfolk. It's very much like your run-of-the-mill detective kind of game. And that's not a bad thing, honestly. That's not I wouldn't consider that a negative thing. I would say that that's more of a positive, in that it does all the things that you want a detective game to play out as. So let's go into a little bit more on the story. So the story, you start as a detective. I guess it's not even a detective. Technically, you're an artist. So you're an artist. His name is Andreas Mahler, and he finds himself like in this conspiracy situation in their town of Tassing. And it basically, the way that you play this game is you are basically unraveling what's going on in Tassing. And I don't want to give too much away. If you want to watch the review on it on IGN. I'll throw it up on screen, or I'll put it in the comments down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. But the gist is that you find yourself in like discovering a conspiracy or whatever, and basically you only have a certain amount of time to find out what's going on, because as you go on discovering different things, time passes. That's very much a Persona type of thing. That's so cool. I love when time passes and you have to try and do things in a certain amount of time, because then you're kind of entangled into a situation where you have to look at the evidence that you can only get in that certain amount of time and come up with a conclusion based on that. Now, I'm not sure if other detective games do that, but I would say, because most of the time they want you to find everything in a certain run and be like, all right, so this is, before we move on, we should really check this out. Or you're just like, is that really everything that you needed to find? It's like, okay, now you have everything that you need. Now we should move forward. That this game is very different in that aspect. It kind of gives you like a certain allotted amount of time to figure out what's going on, and then that's kind of it. And you don't really you have to make really tough decisions based on on the time that you're giving, and that's, for me, is super interesting. So the time management systems that go into that are really, really cool. Apart from that, you're solving mysteries, you're interacting with characters. Obviously that's very much a detective thing. You have to go interview people, talk to them, see what's going on, cross-reference different stories, talk to other people, talk to them back again, be like, hey, this so-and-so told me that's this and this, whatever. And that for me is very much like fanfare for for detective games. So for me, that's a A1, that's A positive. So let's talk about visuals, because I think that's one of the things that really stuck out to me when it came to this kind of game. So it's a minimal art style. It kind of reflects the way that art was kind of depicted back then in the medieval ages, and honestly, I think they nail it on the head with a hammer. The sound design, if you watch some of the review, they talk about like how it's like a very ASMR kind of, they have tidbits and moments where like you go into a church and you hear the Gregorian chants, or you go into into the writing hall and you hear the little scratches and scribbles of a quill going over parchment. And honestly, that is such a, you did not have to go this hard to make your point on this matters to you. That is something so, it's like in those little moments of really caring about your game that it really shines to us, the player, that you're like, wow, this is something that really blows your mind when you're playing it, even though it's not, it's more of a, I guess, a quote unquote, like, not an intense kind of game. So I wouldn't say that this game is more intense, but like in those moments, it kind of gives you like one of those like, oh wow, like when you finally get like, when you're in like a very intense, like even for intense games, when you're playing a very intense game and then you finally end like your action or your fighting scene, and you finally realize the music that's been playing the entire time that you're like focused in on battling, you're like, wow, this game is hitting. It's the same way here. It like, in those little tidbits, you really get to enjoy the music and the sound design that this developer, or the developers really put into the game, and that's really fantastic. But this art style really throws me off. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Asleepa in that like it's not the main focus, though it is such a unique way of presenting a game that you can't help but be like, once you get across that immediate being like, no, I'm not interested in this kind of game, like in the way that it looks, like, because I very much just, I guess, quote, like, spoiler, I really like games that are like pretty, like pretty games. So like, I'm a snob for that stuff, but it wasn't until Chris came along and he was like, oh, you should try out Asleepa, that I was like, okay, I'm gonna give these games a shot, because maybe the story that can transform into a great game. And that game does that, and so does this game. As it kind of seems like, it's like, keep that stuff in the medieval times, but honestly, for me, I think it's super cool. super dope. When it comes to like the details of history, it kind of, you know, it has like its liberties and things like that, but I definitely think that it's definitely I would say it depicts history well, though it does have its own liberties, obviously, like any other game. In an overall way, like as far as like the gameplay, the way that, you know, what you're looking for in terms of like a detective style game, and I don't want to give too much away because I haven't even played it myself, and I only watched so much in the review that I don't want to give too much to you guys because I want you all to try it out for yourself. Is that this game received a 10 out of 10 for a reason, and it's because of the gameplay, it's because of the storytelling, that it's incredible, it's historically authentic, you know, with its tidbits here and there, but overall it's a masterpiece, and it's going to encapsulate you the more you play it. And that, for me, I'm really stoked about, because I really want something that's going to kind of enrapture me into a story. Here's my 10 cents on whether or not we should buy this game or not. If you're in the market for a good story, this is the game for you. If you're in the mood for a game that's very different in terms of art style, if you want an indie game, it's not made by like a AAA studio. Like it doesn't even look like a AAA title. It's different. It's a very different type of art style, and for me that's a positive, but for some of y'all it may be a negative, so you know, take that for what it is. Like, if anybody wants to join me for the ride on this, please let me know down in the comments if you're going to be joining me on the ride for this, because I'm very pumped about the storytelling, the art style, the historical aspect. I really like historical games, just like I play a lot of, I know this is a horrible example, I guess, though I literally saw a couple people online, literally it's kind of like a meme of like teachers showing their students Assassin's Creed games for historical purposes, which I find to be hilarious. And then obviously the gameplay, mystery solving, character interactions, strategic decision making. If any of those things attract you in any way, shape, or form, this game is definitely going to be in your ballpark of like what you are looking for. Just for like something different, you know? So let me know down in the comments below whether or not you're going to be picking this game up, you know, if this is a game that you're interested in, and let me know if you've already played this game, and let me know down below as well what other games you want me to check out in the upcoming weeks, and let me know what I should be covering. Once again, thank you guys. My name is Javier. This is Not For Normies. Thank you guys so much for joining us talking about this game. Y'all have a great week. Play some video games, and most importantly, guys, just don't be a normie. Have a good one, guys. Later.